Hi, everybody. It's Brett Bell here from Grassroots Online for episode 27 of our weekly video podcast, which we have entitled RootsCast. With me, as always, is the man in black, Mark Hardwick.
Oh, how's it going, Brett? It's
You like
episode
that?
number 27.
Did you like
Super
that?
excited for this one, as always. Always look forward to these every week, so let's get her started.
All right. So on the first one we're going to talk about, and I'm not sure what's going on with the screen resolution here. I notice every time that I switch over from you and me, my screen gets smaller and yours gets bigger. I'm not sure what's going on with that. Maybe it's just mine.
Yeah, I noticed something a little bit different there. I noticed you're a little bit lagging today, so like your mouth is going, and then I'm hearing it afterwards. So we might have a little bit of a technical issue on a Hangout today, but we'll see how it works out.
You get what you pay for. So we'll have to sort of keep an eye on this thing, and maybe we'll have to make some adjustments because I can tell you that even just watching it going back and forth, it's annoying. So anyway, we'll carry on. So we talked about the first topic today was I thought it was kind of interesting. So there's a star report, and I'll screen share it here. But there's a star report, and I'll have to move over here. That sort of noted that Justice Minister Peter MacKay was using Facebook to rebut inflammatory media reports. So rather than issue a traditional press release, he actually posted it on Facebook, and I'll actually show it to the folks here. You can see it's actually quite lengthy. This is it was a post on June 22nd. Quite lengthy if you look at it. It's probably a good 8 or 9 paragraphs, essentially rebutting a lot of the media reports. And I just want to get your thoughts on it. We'll talk about some of the statistics here, but I kind of want to get your thoughts on it, Mark, and whether or not you think that this was a smart strategy.
Yeah, you know what? I think that I like it for a couple of reasons. One is he's posted to his Facebook page, so he's using social media to get his message out. Two is if he were to have issued this press release to the press, they probably wouldn't have picked it up, because they're not interested in his side of the story. They're just interested in kind of what people want to hear, right? And I'm not going to go into his statement because that's not for me. This isn't what that's about. But they're more interested to hear about the other side and what people aren't happy with, as opposed to his press release explaining what happened. So I think this is a good way for him to get his side of the story out without having to worry about the media actually printing his press release in full in the newspaper. So that's the two reasons why I like it right off the bat.
Yeah, I don't think you're wrong. I think that one of the differences, or one of the things that I liked about it, was the fact that he's really playing to, he's going where his fish are, right? Which are his supporters and what have you, the people that follow the page and that like the page. So I'm just going to look at it real quick. He has on his page, I'm just letting it roll up here. So he has over 9,000 likes. So it's a fairly big community, and for him to go there, I think how many shares did the English version get? I think it's what do we check here? It has 136 shares. Sorry, I was looking at there, going around the microphone there. 136 shares and a number of 600 odd likes. So I think playing to his own supporters and getting the message out that way, I think was a great way for him to sort of strengthen what he was trying to do. And I think those kind of people. First of all, there's no way that any press media publication is going to publish his statement in its entirety. They're gonna cut and paste it. At least with Facebook, he has the ability to actually he and his team have the ability to basically get his full message out. So, I don't see it. I think it's notable because we don't see it that often with politicians using Facebook or any of their social accounts as their primary communications tool. So it's kind of interesting that he as a high-profile minister opted to do that.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. Again, as I always say, I would like to see more engagement from the actual page, whether it be his staff or whether it be himself on there.
Yeah, it's kind of a fire and forget type of situation. He just sort of put it out there and that was
right.
it.
So it's kind of the same as putting out a press release, but I want to note one thing. In a press release, and when you send it out to the media. That's it. You're done. You make a mistake, you error something, whatever. If you notice here, it does say edited. So clearly there was some editing done, whether it was a comma or the or whatever. He probably didn't change the entire message, and that's the point. But you can't edit a message once it goes out, and now with Facebook editing, it's convenient for you to change it. I guess it's good in some ways, but others could look at it as, well, you edited your message. You changed your message after you posted it. Why are you doing that? You couldn't do it in a newspaper. You couldn't do it in a press release. You couldn't do it in those things. So why are you changing your message on Facebook? I mean, it probably was a comma or a period, or, I've noted I leave out words because I'm a programmer, not an English teacher. So, I mean, it's probably what it was. But at the same point in time, you should be, when you're posting yourself on social media, you should be posting the final copy, right? Like, this is viewable for everyone to see.
Yep.
So people are sharing it, people are liking it, people are, you're a minister. So really, it really should be vetted, and it should be the final copy going on Facebook.
Yeah, fair enough. No, I think that's a fair point. I think the only other thing that I'd say is no, I think all things being the only piece of advice that I'd have is in terms of content. This is not what I would not recommend is doing this on a regular basis. Long reads is not what I would consider the proper form. I'd put that on a website or a blog post or whatever. I would not recommend having big long narratives on Facebook as a general rule. I think that given the amount of attention on his remarks, etc., I think that this is kind of an exception to the rule that works. But I would strongly recommend against politicians or candidates or organizations spending their time writing 8 to 10. What was that? Probably 750, 1,000 words. I would not recommend doing that as a general rule for Facebook.
Yep, I agree. Way too long.
Yeah, but anyway, I think full marks. I think it's good. I think both of us, you're in agreement. Good strategy, and I think in this case it worked really well. So I think it's worth pointing out. So we will move on. I think we've kind of exhausted that topic. We'll move on to topic number 2. And there was a report, I guess, a study that came out. VentureBeat was reporting on it. And one of the things that they are talking about, and we'll post this as we usually do in the show notes. But I wanted to show this chart. They're talking about what kind of apps teens use on a regular basis. And what's interesting is that teens are generally seen as sort of the tastemakers in terms of the wider trends that we see. So we're looking at it. This is sort of, again, the percentage of daily usage in terms of penetration for these various. And it's not just apps per se. It's things like YouTube, things like Pinterest, Vine, etc. So what's interesting about this, I find, is that I have to be honest with you. I didn't actually think that Facebook usage would be that high. So if you're looking at Facebook, daily usage, it's at 60%. I'm not surprised about YouTube. I'm not at all, but I am actually surprised that Facebook is higher than YouTube or Instagram for that matter. So that's kind of a noteworthy. It looks like Facebook still is. I think that there's been lots of talk that Facebook has been. What's the word that it's sort of demise in terms of its youth usership. Number of younger folks that are coming on from 13 to 18 or to 22 or whatever it is, and this shows that that's actually not the case. So I find that really, really interesting. What are your thoughts on it, Mark?
No, I'm surprised too that Facebook is still on top. I'm not as surprised about YouTube though. What I was kind of happy to see going off of the social networks, because this is about apps and websites and so forth. Clearly, it's apps and other things, because I'm not sure that texting. I guess texting or apps, it's instant messaging, whatever you want to call it. And they probably grouped it all into the same kind of group here. They probably grouped Kik and Messenger, other than Facebook Messenger was separate. No, I think so. They probably grouped it all into the same thing here for texting. But it's interesting to see that texting is at the very top.
So I'll just allow us to be showed. Sorry to interrupt there, but I'll show I just want to show quickly the chart that Mark is referring to. So there was another. They sort of asked obviously the social networks, but what they asked is what do high school grads do every day, and the percentage of usage. And as Mark noted, texting is by far and away the most popular method. And I would guess that it is included in all of the other things. But if you do look, Snapchat is not included because that's a separate entity. But it doesn't say Kik or Facebook Messenger or anything like that. So obviously I'm assuming that's all included in texting, but for sure it's far and away the number one. So sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I just wanted to provide some context for the viewers.
Yeah, sorry. I kind of just went off on a tangent there. I guess I like the fact
We're
that
used to it. It's
texting.
fine. It's not a big deal.
I like the fact that texting is kind of the number one activity because it really means that since teens are doing and they are kind of trendsetters, that texting is still there, and that's rather important because it's for me it's I mean both of us communicate via Kick all day long, right? As opposed to actually phoning each other. So I think it's a lot faster, and it shows that since teens are doing it, and usually they set the trends that it goes up to adulthood, and it means that texting is not dead, and how that for me how it floats over to kind of campaigns and politics is that texting still may be the best way to actually get to people instantly, right?
Yeah.
Passing messages to them instantly through text, right? Although most people do have smartphones these days, there still are a few people that are stuck with their flip phones, I guess. But
Yeah, but you can also see that.
but there's lots of things you can do with the text, right? In a short period of time and a short amount of characters, with a phone list, right? Sending out for donations, sending out a press release, sending out an ask for volunteers, creating a call to text kind of apps, right? So I think that it's good that text is still the number one used kind of application, I guess you'd say.
But you know what's funny? So but if you're looking at these things, and you think like high school graduate, let's say, because it says high school graduates, okay? So we're not talking about 14-year-olds, we're talking about possibly 18-year-olds, right? Or let's say let's be generous to say 16 to 18-year-olds, right? And those are the kind of volunteers that parties across all party lines are starving for, right? Because they want the enthusiastic people who, and I understand politics is a subset of people. There's not a lot of the general teenage population to get involved in politics, just like, frankly, just like the adult population in terms of actual volunteers. But when was the last time? You just raised a really interesting point that made me think of this. When was the last time that you saw a texting campaign on like any kind of a texting initiative, like text whatever, win to whatever 42896 or anything that kind of stuff. When was the last time you saw that on a Canadian campaign? I can't think of the last time I saw, like a couple of years ago, but seems to have fallen out of favor. But ironically, texting and activities on your phone is incredibly popular, especially with the younger group. So I'm kind of surprised that that's not something that people spend a little bit more time pursuing.
Yeah, no, I think especially for volunteering and things like that, I think that if I remember correctly, we ran into some issues around donates and things like that with just because of regulations in Canada.
The telecom, and it's all regulated. You're not allowed to do that for political parties. Charities can, but you can't declare.
But I don't see why you couldn't do it for volunteering. I mean, and why you couldn't do it to recruit volunteers or to make phone calls to people as long as you have permission to use their phone number for calling. I don't know why you can't do that. I mean, maybe there's some kind of privacy laws that I don't know about it, but it seems to me that it's pretty good. It's a pretty good use of technology for texting. Really short, really quick, and you get your message out there.
Well, it's interesting, and I was speaking.
Sorry, if I could just finish up before I finish my thought.
Yeah.
And everybody, almost everybody, sorry, I'm not going to say everybody, but almost everyone has a phone these days, as opposed to not everyone's on Twitter, Facebook, and social networks, right? Almost everybody has a phone, so your reach is much wider.
No, it's a good point. And I was speaking to somebody yesterday who runs an online advertising agency, like a political online advertising agency, and he said one of the most powerful ad formats is mobile. It destroys in terms of click-throughs. It destroys regular display advertising, and that just goes to show. And he said, that's where you want to put a lot of your focus and a lot of your efforts is mobile, because and this is somebody who, again, I run my share of ads, but this is his core business. He does it day in, day out, and he's saying absolutely mobile is where the people are at and where the eyeballs are at. So it's interesting that we haven't seen on the political side, the digital political side, we haven't seen as much leverage of that fact. That again, we do see mobile advertising, but we don't see a lot of mobilization, which is interesting, and text messaging and things like that. So it's kind of interesting that doesn't happen. So.
Yeah, so I just want to touch base and rewind. I don't know, maybe 6 episodes, no, 16 episodes. When did we talk about? We talked about Snapchat. So
Oh, I think that was like number 3 or number 4. Like it was.
oh man, okay, so we're talking like 20 episodes ago. Wow, wow,
Yeah.
time flies when you're having fun, eh?
Absolutely.
So I just wanted to touch. I wanted to go here, and there's the anonymous app usage is 65% for Snapchat.
Huh.
So that's pretty interesting. That it's getting a lot of use there. I guess there's not too many of them, but it's getting use. I mean, I honestly thought when we first started talking about Snapchat, I was like, yeah, whatever. It's gonna be a Foursquare.
Yeah, which we see, and that's an interesting note that Foursquare, which was so big so many years ago, that it's statistically 0% of people use it on a daily, of teens use it on a daily basis. So it's pretty
Yeah,
sad.
they got a lot of money too. So that's I don't know. I used to check in when I was getting a Subway or a McDonald's, but clearly useless. Clearly. But anyways,
Yeah.
but so what do you think? What are your thoughts? Let's go back. Let's revisit this. And it's been what so it's been 6 months, five months. All right, what are your thoughts on Snapchat? We see people are using it. What are your thoughts on Snapchat for politics? Have they changed any?
I'm trying to rack my head around, and maybe I'm not creative enough, but I'm trying to rack my head around what you would use it for. It's one-on-one. So even if the only way I could see it working is that you would be able to gather a large group, right? So if you can, Snapchat works that you can, and we tested it out, that you can actually create like a large group of friends. So if you're able to, like I think Rand Paul used it, if you're able to actually create a large group of followers, that yeah, you could communicate to them, but in an ephemeral way, it's going to be up for a matter of seconds. I guess I'm just still not. I guess it's maybe let me put it this way. Maybe an alert. Maybe it's like a quick, like almost like when you do text message alerts, like you're letting people know about something, like almost like a flash, like a bulletin kind of thing, where you let people know, so it doesn't need to be out there for any length of time. It's like boom, this is happening, or whatever the case may be, like somebody such just resigned or whatever. I mean that kind of stuff. That's the only thing I can really think of that it would have any real use. Uh, Snapchat, etc., has been made for kind of one-on-one or close groups of friends communicating. I know why it's popular. It makes a lot of sense between NSA and the fact that your parents are on Facebook and all that kind of stuff. I totally understand why why especially young people are going to Snapchat. But I'm just having a hard time coming up with a political utility. What about you?
Yeah, so you don't think that the really slingshot's going to be working too well either then for that? They tie in together. Figured we'd just bring that up.
Oh yeah, well. So, yeah, well, give me your thought. You and I both agree on Slingshot, the new Facebook, the new Snapchat, the Facebook's version of Snapchat. So very quickly, what are your thoughts on it? Because you and I agree with it.
So Snapchat, I'm still the same on. I don't think it's going to be it's any value to politics unless someone's really got a message they need to share really quickly and they've got a big group of followers they can blast it out to. I just don't think it's the place. Slingshot, meh. I like to know what message I'm getting before I send a message out, so I don't think that that's going to work out for politics either. So
Yeah, that's a big thing.
One thing I do know that stays a constant all the time for politics, and that I preach about all the time, using for politics, is YouTube. YouTube and video. That's the one constant. Get your message out. People can watch it. Keep it between 30 seconds and a minute, and it shows. People are doing it. What are you on? What type of video? What type of entertainment are you on? It's 97% YouTube. So it shows that that's the place to be. People are watching it, whether it be your ad or just your actual campaign video. People are watching that. It's YouTube. YouTube's still the way to go.
Yep. So no, I think that's a good way to end it there. So because we're going a little long, so I wanted to thank you for viewing, as I always do. We thank you very much for being a part of this conversation. Feel free to hit us up on our various social channels, and I guess we will see you next week. Thanks again for watching.
Thanks again, folks. See you next week.